and welcome. I'm here today with Jochen Mebus, Vice President of Business Development for Europe and Brazil. We're going to talk a bit about the changes in the content marketing arena and how Textbroker has responded to those changes. Jochen, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about what has happened in the content marketing arena in the last few years.
Well, a lot has happened, actually. Thanks mostly to a lot of Google updates to the algorithm. If you think 3 years back, you could rank high on Google searches primarily by having a lot of links and a link network and not looking at how good or bad the content is that is in that link network. That has dramatically changed through various Google updates, and Google today is recognizing and is looking very much at not only that the content is unique and fresh that you have, but also that it has a high quality that is relevant for the user, that the user wants to read, and not something that sits with white font on white ground as we had it just a few years back. And the consequence of that is dramatic changes in the needs for content with everyone who wants to be found on the internet.
Those sound like very challenging changes. How has Textbroker responded to that?
Well, we've always created content for our customers, and typically this was done by our customers using our platform, ordering their texts, reviewing their texts, and then using them. What we're seeing now is a lot of demand for us taking more responsibility of that process. Sometimes because clients do not have enough resources to write all these things on their own or to manage the process on their own, but also sometimes because they just need help and consulting in meeting these higher content needs that we've just talked about. So what we've done is introduce something we call managed service. Managed service being a service where Textbroker takes over the process of creating this content entirely from the client. So the client does not have to go onto our tool. The client does not have to proofread texts. All they need to do is talk to us about what in detail they need. And we will fulfill that briefing, if you want, that we agree with them.
Now, this is a service, if I understand, that has been around a little bit. How have some of your customers responded to this new offering?
Well, we're seeing a sharp increase in demand for this because a lot of clients have the issue of too much work for too few people. And when you have too much work for too few people, you need to think about outsourcing. We apply for outsourcing content generation because it's time-consuming, it needs a lot of skills, there are changing requirements, as I said, thanks to Google. So a lot of clients all over the world are understanding this and see that challenge within their own organization, resulting in talking to us about managed service.
And how exactly does managed service work at Textbroker?
Well, basically, you will have, as a client, you will have a conversation with us about your requirements. So every managed service project has an own project manager, even if it's a multi-language project. And with your project manager, you will discuss your briefing. So what exactly do you want? Not only how many words per text do you want or which keywords you want to promote, but also questions of formatting, of style, of who is your target group, what is your conversion goal. So we want to understand in more detail what exactly you want to achieve with this content. And then once that is done, we sometimes even formally sign off that briefing, and then it's entirely our job to make sure that we find the right authors that can write this briefing, that we proofread and edit these texts up to the point that they meet the briefing requirements we have jointly agreed with our clients. We also have quite often some rounds of iterations at the beginning, because at the end of the day, writing is an art. And with art, you got to get used to each other. You need to learn from each other. And sometimes briefings, the first versions of briefings, even though both sides think that's it might not be it because an author, especially an external author, has maybe understood it differently. So rounds of iterations at the beginning are normal. But we're seeing a very high success rate of these projects because we do have that attention to detail which we're asking from the client, but which of course we're asking also from our authors and from our own teams in making sure that we fulfill customer briefings.
And the customer has one project manager for all languages, is that correct?
Yes. What we're also seeing is a big demand for covering different languages from clients. So every client who wants to do business, online business in several countries will need content in different languages. And Textbroker is very well geared to deliver these projects as well. And to make this as easy as possible for our clients, we do not let them talk to project responsible persons in every country or every language. We're going to have one face to the customer, one project manager, and the coordination work amongst our different languages and platforms is an internal task at Textbroker.
So you make it as easy as possible for the customer. What sort of companies would you recommend trying this out?
Well, typically managed service clients are those that have the need either for a lot of texts in a fairly short period of time, or that have the need for a very high quality that they don't think they can do themselves, or that have the need for various languages where they don't have the language skills in-house. Let's put it the other way around. Clients who just need one or two texts, those are clients that typically either use the self-service or do it themselves. So we are talking about kind of larger projects, but at what number of texts they start really depend on language, depend on the topic. And whilst we have a minimum spend on this, we do not have a minimum number of texts.
And are there other services that are being considered being added on to the managed service?
Yes, it starts from things like image service. So we would also look after images within a text that we produce, but we're also looking at other elements and steps in the content marketing process. For instance, looking at where do you seed, where do you place the piece of content that we have produced. If you're looking for blogs or other sites to place articles on, we can help with that as well. We're also now starting to look at keyword research and defining titles based on keywords that our clients have. That's a service which we have available right now in German and English. And hopefully over the coming month and years we can expand that to other languages as well.
So let's say I'm interested, sounds good. What are my next steps?
Well, for managed service you should contact us. There are different ways how to do this. On every one of our local websites there's a contact form for managed service. You could obviously also call us, and from then on for managed service we will need to talk to you. As I said, there's a briefing to be agreed, and that is what we need to understand.
Okay, thank you very much, Jochen.